Hello, this is Tanisha J with Cosmic Roots Alchemy, and welcome to the second portion of the Ancestral astrology reading for Karmelo Anthony. The first reading was the Ancestral Tarot reading cards that you followed. Now, the second is the astrology. Now, the astrology reading is about what happened that day. I took the date and I put it into a chart in this and look at it as an event that happened that day. And within that, I'm going to read the cosmic codes, which are the planets and the signs that are in the houses of what our ancestors were speaking to us at that moment. So, for those who've never dealt with astrology, I'm going to try to make it like a conversation from house to house talking. And also, let me remind you that tarot cards reading and astrology are only interpretive tools for spiritual conversations. It is not for physical advisement, it is not factual, and please use your discernment. Whatever resonates with you, take it with you. What does not, leave it at the wayside. Also, these readings are for growth and healing of the community and for us to get together. This is, like I said, this is just interpretive tools for us to have spiritual conversations. So let's begin with the reading of what happened April 2nd, 2025 at 9:55 a.m. How did I get the time? I got the time from a article that was on the website of CBS Texas. It was the article in which they were talking about the incident that happened. And they stated that a camera on the school facility grounds picked up action and motion happening under the tent at 9:55. So I'm going to use that time as the time of when the incident started or began. So, what we're going to do first, I'm going to begin first in the 12th house. And in the 12th house, this is the ancestral release. This is where the ancestors store their pain, their traumas, and the secrets and their silence and emotional and their emotional I can't say it, and the emotional silence alone also too, where they cannot speak of all of the things that were happening to them in that chart, in that house, in that placement. There is Uranus and Taurus. And what Uranus and Taurus comes in, Uranus and Taurus is stating this is how I interpret it. Uranus and Taurus, because Uranus is the awakened, the ancestral awakener, the great awakener. And Taurus is basically always speaks about self worth, inner worth. And this is the interpretation. Beloved descendants, some burdens were carried for so long they became mistaken for truth. The lineage learned to survive through fear, vigilance, and attachment to that what felt secure. Yet you were not born merely to preserve old survival stories. You were born to liberate them. Stand upon the earth and remember your belonging. The soil beneath your feet does not question its worth. The mountains do not seek permission to stand. The stars do not fear their place in the sky. Release the inherited belief that safety must be earned through struggle alone. You belong to this earth. You belong to this lineage. You belong to life itself. Through your healing, the roots, the ancestral tree grow deeper and the branches reach farther than ever before. Once this burden is released, the mother line arrives at the embodiment remembrance of the lineage. So let's go back. Quick summary. 12 house is saying, hey, we are no longer going to be in pain and suffering because this is what has been taught, that our existence coincide with pain and suffering. We're not doing that anymore. That will not be the code. We're going to switch the code and we're going to start speaking and we're going to start changing it and awakening that this is not survival and that we belong on this earth just as much as the next person does. And so we move. When we move, we're going into the first house. So survival. Like I said, once the 12th house asks you to release those burden, then the mother line arrives there. And she's reincarnated in Moon and Jupiter in Gemini. Moon is your maternal line, and Jupiter is the expansion, and Gemini is the communicator. Now, in the first house arrival, the connection to the 12th house of ancestral release, and I'm going to connect it to the third house, also the soul's voice, but let's just talk about the connection to the first and the 12th house. Because once the 12th house direct to release it, the first house placement of Moon and Jupiter and Gemini comes in an incarnated embodiment of the mother lineage, who says, if I have to explain my worth, let me explain my existence as the primordial of this work through my words of my mitochondria Eve DNA. Let me explain that. She said, if I have to explain my worth, I will explain my existence as the primordial of this work through my words of my mitochondria Eve DNA. She uses Jupiter to shed light of the wisdom um, I hold of the true value, power, and alignment that I am within this soil and land. In case you compare me to the dirt at the bottom of your feet, just remember that Hold on. Just remember that soil is the richness that you thrive off for your growth in food, creativity, oil, and more. You see, the blackest soil gives you the richness in life that you would never be able to live without. Once the mother remembers her worth, she can no longer remain silent. Remembrance becomes the voice. So in the first house of soul arrival, she come back and she lets you know, as much as I am, as much as you're telling me I need to be worthy, for my existence on this earth, I am the earth. I am the dirt. I am the creator. I am the seed and the root in everything that you do. And that was very powerful with the ancestor saying. And as she says, once the mother remembers her worth, she can no longer remain silent. Remembrance becomes a voice in the third house. And in the third house, the soul's voice, Mars in Cancer and Fortune in Leo. And as we move there in the third house, it becomes a sacred communicator of the lineage, explaining the instructions that was handed to her community, was structured by hands to control. Our community was structured by hands to control the narrative. And the narrative will no longer be voiced through a pen or a voice that was created with the oppression, our oppression in mind, not allowing us to be seen in our truth. And the truth is in the fifth house. The truth is in the fifth house. And within the fifth house, we have the South Node in Capricorn. Now, in the South Node in Capricorn, this is where it states basically that we worked. We carry responsibility with honor. We worked when others rested. We sacrificed so future generations might have more than we did. We trusted that the diligence would open every door. Yet some dreams remained beyond reach. Some harvests never arrived. Some promises were never filled. Do not mistake our sacrifices for our descendants' destiny. Our labor gave you a foundation. And when it comes to the descendants, us who have come from our ancestors, our task is to give that foundation a soul. And they want us to know that they were working for our freedom and joy that was promised, but the line always was moved further to be at the bottom. And no longer will a line be moved because we are currently now drawing the line. And this goes back into reference when there were promises made to our ancestors, like 40 acres and a mule. Like there were promises made and not none was fulfilled. And so they're stating, like we were told, if you work hard, if you do this, if you do that, you can have a home, your family, your kids can go to good schools. But it all continued to be denied, even though we followed those instructions. And they want us to know that now we're not following the instructions no more of this structure of what's been fed to us of what a good life is. And when we draw the line, we draw the line in the sixth house, the soul's healing. And there we have Lilith and Vertex and Scorpio. And within this house, Lilith and Vertex and Scorpio reveal the sacred threshold of transformation. The ancestors bringing forward the wounds that were never fully tended. The grief, the trauma, the losses, the disappointments, and the pain that generations carried in silence. These wounds were often wrapped quickly, not for true healing, but so the lineage could continue surviving, working, building, and enduring. Lilith refuses to allow the wound to remain hidden, while Vertex opens the destined doorway toward transformation. The pain that was buried beneath generation of strength rises, not to harm the lineage, but to liberate it. This is where the sacred alchemist stands beside the wound and declare, we are no longer treating the symptoms while ignoring the source. We are no longer covering without tending to its roots. We are no longer carrying inherited suffering as though it is our identity. The ancestors are now showing that true healing is not the absence of pain, it is the courage to face it, transform it, and allow it to become a pathway toward liberation. And a pathway towards liberation is changing our beliefs. And so we go into the ninth house where Pluto in Aquarius is. And these are the placement. Now the belief that once protected the lineage now seek evolution. What was built through fear may now be rebuilt through authenticity. What was maintained through silence may now be strengthened through truth. You are not called to reject the ancestors. You are called to continue their journey. Through your vision, a new inheritance is born. Through your courage, future generations learn the freedom and belonging can exist together. So, in the ninth house soul's belief, we are putting the book down that you used to instruct us and hypnotize us. And you know what it was. We now turn it back to our ancestral medicine of beliefs to heal our wounds and to call back our spiritual alchemy that is ours. So I want y'all to really pay attention in this 11th house because this 11th house is has so many placements. It has stellium of Pisces and Aries. And so let me break it down, and I'm not going to go through each and one of them. Just like I said, the conversation is in that house within the soul's future line, because the 11th house is the soul's future line, the community in which the ancestors give the baton off to us to say, hey, this is what's next, this is what we're asking you to do. And so within the soul's future line, we have Saturn, North Node, Venus, and Mercury in Pisces. This here is revealed the ancestral elder, the sacred keeper, the heart of the lineage, and the story keeper standing together at the threshold of the future. The ancestors remind us that there was a time when spirituality was not separate from daily life. It lived with the community and healing traditions, the songs, the stories, and the wisdom carried through the bloodline. Through generations of survival, much of this sacred connection became forgotten, but it was never lost. The ancestors are calling the community back into an alignment with the spiritual inheritance that has always belonged to us. And then when it comes to the second portion within that 11th house, you have Neptune, Sun, and Chiron in Aries. Within the soul's line, Neptune, the Sun, and Chiron in Aries reveal the sacred flame of awakening. The ancestors show that beneath generations of wounds, disappointments, anger, and separation lived a sacred fire waiting to be remembered. This is not a fire of destruction, but a fire of transformation. Chiron reveals the wounds carried by the lineage. Neptune reconnects the community to its spiritual vision, and the sun restores the true identity that has always existed beneath the pain. The ancestors remind us that our wounds were never meant to become our identity. Our healing is the identity. The rage carried across generations is being transmuted into spiritual power, purpose, and connection. The sacred flame calls the community back to the medicine that once healed, guided, and strengthened the lineage. It is a call to remember who we are, where we come from, and what has always lived within us. The ancestors are saying that the time of disconnection is ending. The medicine is still here. The wisdom is still here. The spiritual inheritance is still here. The call is simple. The call is plug back into the spirit that has been waiting for your return. Through that connection, the wound becomes wisdom, the pain becomes purpose, and the future line becomes illuminated by the sacred flame of remembrance. The 11th house is about us answering the call to our spiritual alignment and calling back what was ours. And to also, I want to say this because when I was doing the reading, I felt a very strong presence of an ancestor. And she was this wise woman, very strengthened, very astute. And this is one of the things that she wanted me to make sure that you got. And this was this statement that needs to be said to help call back remembrance, to help get alignment in your spirituality. And this comes from, I think I saw this on IG. I may be pronouncing her name wrong. It's IG, it's AJ, it's AJI. So I'm thinking it's Aja Ayafea. So if I butchered your name, I apologize. But I found this on her page and I had saved it. And the ancestors was like, yeah, you saved it. So go look for it. And I went to go look and I was like, okay. And this is something that she wanted us to use for the call back to our spiritual alignment and calling back to the remembrance of ourselves. And I want to say it fully. And calling back all that was ours that was taken through a contract of confusion, I now cancel, collapse, and dissolve every contract agreement and energetic tie that was formed in confusion, fear, survival, or distortion. Anything that has had access to me without my full conscious consent is now revoked. Anything that was taken from me, fed on, fed on me, watched me, or interfered with my path loses access immediately. What is not mine is removed. What was taken is returned, clean, whole, and undistorted. My field is closed to manipulation. My life is closed to the inheritance. Only that what honors me remains, and so it is. So she is asking us to call our beloved benevolent ancestors, asking us to call back what is ours, call back to the spiritual alignment, call back to who we are, and to no longer fulfilling a contract that does not help us in our truth and who we are. And I feel like that day, the cosmic codes were talking, and it's so, and the thing about it is, if you look in the 12th house, it's community. This is asking the community, and you see the community is actually showing up for Karmelo Anthony. You see the community is speaking out for him. You see the community is standing with him, and I think that is such a alignment of what's actually happening and what happened that day. Like, they were like, yes, this is happening, but this is what I want you to do. This is what I need you to be for the community, for this young man right now. And this event that's happening. And this, and I want to say that this goes way beyond just this incident of what happened to Karmelo Anthony. But I want to say this goes with everything that has been in the news circulating about our Black community, about our children, about our life. It's about a call to come back home. And home is not the essence of a place. Home is the essence of the spirit of who we are. And that's what is being asked. I'm going to close out the reading here. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the tarot card reading and the astrology reading. And I thank you for allowing me time. And I thank you for taking your time to listen. And until next time, please stay grounded and rooted in love. Bye now.